Well, there's some freaky stuff going down on Rocky Top. The University of Tennessee at Knoxville has a club dedicated to providing a safe space for students who like to dress up as animals. It's called the UTK Furries. Now, Campus Reform first reported on this kinky little club, noted for its quest, to create a fun and safe environment for people who support or are furries, so they can share their ideas freely without the fear of persecution. Now, the club president telling the Daily Beacon that furries are largely misunderstood, with a large amount of stereotypes and false information about them. Campus Reform reports there are more than 90 members listed on the club's Discord page. Unclear whether that includes just the furballs or their allies. The students went on to say that identifying as a furry allows you to explore gender, sexuality, and all aspects of identity through a character. No doubt this will come as a shock to longtime fans and alumni of the UT Volunteers. Now, there's no indication the club receives any funding from taxpayers, and I don't want to unduly alarm all you folks up on Rocky Top, but maybe Peyton Manning ought to conduct a wellness check on Smokey. Just saying. Well, joining me now is Michael Duke, a correspondent for Campus Reform, and they've been exposing programs like this on a number of American campuses. Michael, good to have you with us. So is this an anomaly, what's going on at UT Knoxville, or are you guys seeing this kind of weird stuff all over the place?
Yeah, well, this is definitely an issue that we're seeing all over the place. I can tell you, I go to Fordham University right here in New York City, and we also have a furry club. But specifically at the UT Knoxville, it's a very interesting story because, as you just said, the president of the club said that she believes that furries are widely misunderstood. And to students like me, that just does not fly, because the bottom line with this issue is that the only reason furry clubs are popping up around campuses, whether that be UT Knoxville or my home turf here at Fordham, is because administrators are too scared to push back on radical ideologies that tells students that they can be whatever they want to be but themselves. And ultimately, that also falls onto the fact that DEI initiatives, diversity, equity, and inclusion, has been pushed onto students, where students and administrators and even professors in some cases aren't allowed and are discouraged to speak out against sort of obscene things that we're seeing with some of these clubs.
Yeah, I have to say, I haven't run into one of these folks, but I quite frankly, I don't think they are misunderstood. It's weird, man. It's downright weird, Michael. And on top of that, I suspect that you guys, as students, you're having to pay for this nonsense with your student activity fees.
Yes, well, as you just said, it's unconfirmed at UT Knoxville, but what I would want to highlight with this is that this is a direct result of DEI. At UT Knoxville itself, they spent over a span of 4 years, $1.8 billion on DEI initiatives and programs. And that also amounted to 40 million hours of student engagement and DEI initiatives and mandated courses that focus on DEI at UT Knoxville. This is an issue that really boils down to one thing: that students aren't allowed to be themselves because they have to conform to the nonconformity. They have to be an individual who conforms to social justice initiatives, to be a furry, or any other radical leftist ideology that is the norm of today. It's something where I don't really understand why it's happening on campus, but when you look at the big picture, specifically with DEI, leftist indoctrination, critical race theory, and all other sorts of leftist indoctrination on campus, it sort of makes sense why this is happening and why we're even talking about it.
Are you starting to see some pushback, though? We certainly saw that in the presidential election. A number of young people embracing President Trump, the America First movement. Are you starting to see that at places like Fordham, for example?
Well, Fordham is a private Jesuit institution, so I think if any change will happen, it'll come gradually as the rest of the nation, specifically state-funded schools, have to adhere to policies and administrative decisions that come directly from the Oval Office of President Trump. I think it's a very strong thing, and it's a very strong notion that DEI is being stripped away from schools. It doesn't benefit students. Look at this furry group. They don't do anything to advance academics. They don't do anything to advance knowledge. They don't uphold the standards of what higher education is supposed to be. When I go to college, I want to obtain a degree. I want to soak in as much knowledge as I possibly can, and I want to wow any potential employers that I might apply to when I get out of college. And this club and other leftist indoctrinated clubs and leftist focused clubs on campuses, they don't do that. They create safe spaces. It's not what higher education is supposed to be about.
No, it is not. And Michael, my recommendation here, just tell the kids, fine, you want to identify as a gerbil or whatever, you got to be spayed, you got to be neutered. That'll fix the problem lickety-split. Michael, we got to leave it there. You guys are doing great work at Campus Reform, and thank you for coming on Newsmax.